Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about Victorian time. I'm Robin.
I'm Abby.
Victorian era is well known as the golden era of Great Britain. Through the dominance of Queen Victoria, Great Britain became prosperous and had a huge number of colonies around the world. However, in the early Victorian time, you will die because of some ridiculous laws.
These laws often from the Bloody Code. The Bloody Code existed from 1688 to 1815. At the beginning, there were 50 offenses on the statute book punishable by death. However, that number had almost quadrupled by 1776, and it reached 220 by the end of the century. The laws we are going to introduce are from the Bloody Code. Some of them are really strange, and you might think that these kind of crimes should not need to be punished by death, but it turns out that they did. The first things I want to talk about is that people who blacken their faces would be put to death in Victorian era, because except for the thief, no one would blacken their face at night. No matter who blackened face at night would be seen as thief and being hanged to death directly.
Okay, so the second crime I want to talk about is that in the early Victorian time, if you steal things from shipwrecks, you will be sentenced to death as well. This law is legislated due to the pressure from the ship-owning community, the insurance companies, and the merchant class. Even if no one aboard survived from the accident, you are not allowed to take anything from the shipwrecks. We can see that the Bloody Code focus on dealing with the property issue especially, and even try to prevent this kind of problems by death penalty. These kind of laws are common to be seen in the Victorian era, and the following laws we are going to introduce as well.
The third crime that can also be put to death is a married female hiding dead baby. It specifically refers to women who have given birth before marriage and privately aborted without revealing the child. The British people think a married female deserved to be hanged due to killing a life and hide it. But it would be different if it happened to a married woman, because people think married women are too noble to do such a thing, so they wouldn't get punishment. Of course, this kind of reason does not seem to be very convincing nowadays, but it was expectedly popular back at that time.
Even these days, abortion is still a controversial issue around the world. Some people consider that this is the basic human right of all women, and others think that it is guilty and sinful. But this kind of controversy never ends actually, and it will be continued in the future. Just because having an abortion won't be punished by death anymore. The fourth crime I want to talk about is that if you impersonate a Chelsea pensioner, you'll be sentenced to death as well. A Chelsea pensioner is someone who lives at the Royal Hospital of Chelsea. The hospital is a retirement and nursing facility for former members of the British Army. Those retired soldiers receive a pension to live. So some people at that time try to pretend that they are retired soldiers and take the pension. And this crime will let you be handed over. Again, this crime is far away from being convicted to death, but it did exist in Victorian time.
The fifth one is being with gypsies for more than 1 month. In the early 18th century, if a British person lived with a gypsy for more than 1 month, he would be sentenced to death. This crime is even equivalent to murdering a king. Although it seems like people are punished for no reason, however, back to Victorian era, England had an indelible prejudice against gypsies. Because of their different lifestyle, gypsies in other countries seem out of tune. They don't have settled habitation, so even they are good at witchcraft, they have great achievements in the arts. They are still discriminated. I think this is a bit similar to the racial segregation in South Africa. People at that time are not allowed to live with people in different racial. They can't get married with people of color. Otherwise, it will be seen as commit crime.
Just like nowadays, gypsies are still discriminated. They can't find a steady place to live, and their health issues still exist. According to the survey, 1/3 of the British people admit that they have bias toward gypsies. The classical stereotype of gypsies is that men do not do nothing every day, and women bring their children back along the streets. So until now, gypsies still struggle on their lives.
And the sixth crime is returning from transportation. To return from transportation means to escape from exile. Around the time of George Sr., criminals were frequently sent to America, Africa, or Australia for living there around 7 or 14 years. If they somehow tried to return to England, they would face the death penalty for violating the law for the second time.
And the seventh crime I want to talk about is that damaging Westminster Bridge will also be punished by death. Many landmarks were protected under the threat of capital punishment, but Westminster Bridge was especially guarded during the era of the Bloody Code because of its strategic importance. Even dogs could even cross this bridge. Damaging the landmark will also be punished today, but again, it won't be sentenced to death anyway. The last crime is that cutting down young trees was also considered a severe crime in Victorian era. A man was executed for cutting down young trees, set fire to corn stacks, and slashed horses and cows with a knife. But it was cutting down the trees that most offended the judge, since cutting down young trees may be a much greater injury to the owner, because wealth may replace the corn and cattle. The loss of trees is irreparable, both to the owner and to the public. Don't get it wrong. At that time, the concept of eco-friendly and environmental protection isn't popular. It is just because that a tree cannot be replaced in any way like corn or cattle. So it proved that the laws in Victorian time really focused on the property issue.
Originally, most of the rules in Bloody Code are made by nobility in order to assure their wealth and benefits. To say people make a mistake can lead to death penalty is ridiculous, but jury would also help the criminals mitigate the punishment. Even though such ridiculous laws were made at that time, comparing to 16th and 17th century, there are actually less people sentenced to death during 18th and 19th century. During the Victorian era, they eventually tried to change this inappropriate death penalty to exile criminals to make a law more reasonable.
So that is the end of the introduction. Hope you guys get to know different side of Victorian time. If you like our video, please follow us on YouTube. We will soon bring you more juicy content in the next video. I'm Robin.
I'm Abby.
I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Bye bye.